an opportunity was just put out to the room. Who thinks they're good enough MC to rap on stage right now? And I happened to feel I was good enough, so I just basically ran on stage. My name's Richard Price, aka Mic Assassin. I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a director. Grew up in South East London on an estate called Lovelynch in New Cross. I started writing and performing at age 9. I used to write stories and poetry when I was younger, and it started forming what I would later know to be called as verses and bars and syntax structures. I started writing just pages of things and it turned into raps. First hip-hop songs that I really remember taking to was Run DMC, and I think that's connected to the fact that when you're younger you look up to your older brother, and that's what my brother used to play a lot of Run DMC, so it made me kind of like Run DMC. I like a lot of jazz. I grew up in a house where there was a lot of music playing, a lot of reggae. I discovered jazz in my teens, and I just like sounds. I like how things sound, so anything that sounded really good, whether it was Soul to Soul, whether it was Bob Marley, whether it was Charlie Parker, whether it was Cannibal Adderley, I just like music. Music inspires me. From a visual perspective, I like telling stories, so I almost kind of saw myself as like a superhero, and I started to create these little visuals inside of my mind. Later on, I would figure out that they would be the basis for the videos and short films and music videos I wanted to create. I had this dream of just running like a massive record label from the age of 14, and at the age of 15, I was researching, figuring out how I'm gonna set up this record label. I would ring up magazines that covered the music I did. I'd ring up radio stations that played the music I did, and I just was asking them, how do I get my stuff played on the radio? How do I get put in a magazine? And for those who had the time, they would say, there's this music conference coming up, you should go to this conference, or you should check out this magazine, they've got an industry event. And that's basically what I did. I started wandering off to any event where they specialised in hip hop in the UK. I did my first tour when I was 18. A musician by the name of Tommy Evans, he set up a label called Y&R Record, and his label had a few notable hip hop artists on his label at the time, and through him we toured a lot of the UK to quite small venues, but we opened up for a few US acts like Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Why did I decide to take a break from music? I feel the music scene is very cliquey. It's very kind of, you have to know this person to know that person, and I was really focused on just making the music. At that time, a lot of our stuff was getting played on Kiss FM, Radio 1, Capital. Felt the effort I was putting in and the work I was putting in wasn't being received how I wanted it to, and I felt that a lot of radio stations and a lot of performances, and especially club promoters, they had this kind of, you have to know this person. It's very Kiss RC basically, it's very Kiss RC, and I didn't really want to play that game. And I said to myself, I'm going to take a break for about 6 months, just away from music, just to clear my head, figure out what I'm going to do next with my businesses, what I'm going to do next with myself as an artist. So yeah, it kind of disheartened me a little bit, so I fell back from doing everything. Decided to take a 6-month break. 6 months turned into a year turned into 2 years, and here I am 7 years later getting back on music. MTV Base were putting a lot of UK music artists on their channels, so that meant there was a rise in production companies specialising to those lower budget videos. And I went to a meeting with a company and they charged me some ridiculous rate to do a video, and I didn't think that their work was worth that, and I didn't think it should cost me that much. So I made it a mission after that to start learning to do videos. This was around 2007. I never really actively put anything together until about 2009. So it took about 2 years of me practicing, filming. Everything looks really terrible. And I set up a company in 2009. I've always wanted to run my own business. Since the age of 14, I just knew that I didn't really want to. Even at that age, I actually thought to myself, I'm seeing my parents get up and go to work and they come home tired. I just thought I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something that I wanted to do. So I decided setting up my own business it made the only logical sense. I'm not really good at following rules, so I was like, I need to work for myself. It's the only way. I don't think I'm very employable either. I have like really bad habits and traits. I have to work for myself. It's the only way that would make sense. In between the gaps of me no longer doing music full time. We done workshops where we go into schools and we talk to the kids about entrepreneurship, music, multimedia skills, and this enabled us to kind of connect with young people and just share a skill that we had built. And I think it's quite an important thing. It's quite a rewarding thing to go into a school, talk to young people in colleges and schools about what their path is. Every school that I've gone into, they didn't expect me to come in to be the guy to lead their workshop who's been running the business. I've been running the business since I was 18, I'm 31. And they didn't expect that to be me. I don't know if it's a media narrative where I don't fit the description of someone who should be running a business, but I get that a lot. Like, I didn't know you ran a business. So I think it's important for me to go into schools and kind of show, especially the young people in my area, that this is what I'm doing. There are people out there who look like you who are doing things. It's not just a one-dimensional projected narrative that I shouldn't be running a business or there's something else that they would have preconceived that I should be doing. So going into schools, I think that's important for me to show those young kids that it is possible. I'm from the same area as you. I started to make music again because music's my first love. Music is the first thing that I actually fell in love with. I remember watching, say like, or listening to Run DMC songs or Snoop Doggy Dogg videos on the box, and I remember feeling like I wanted to do that, and I missed it. Like, me not being able to do music over the last 7 years was purely my reasoning, is because I didn't want to venture back into music industry. But it's my first love, it's the thing that I love doing the most, and I missed it. I missed making music, I missed performing, I missed touring, I missed that connectivity that you can build with fans through words that you wrote in your notepad. So I talk about everything in my music, from my life to my ups, my downs, my successes, my failures, but it isn't just a music thing for me, it's something that I actually live. I feel the whole process of music, down to how I'm connecting with audience, how I'm marketing myself to them, how I'm selling my CDs or merchandise to them, is part of the whole process. So I feel that makes me different in the sense that when you're buying a CD from me, you're buying part of the work, you're buying part of my thoughts, my feelings, not just the music, but because I am involved in the designing of my CD cases, I am involved in the designing of my websites, I am involved in setting up how I want my branding to look. This is something that's all coming from me. So I feel, especially as a music artist who now does my own videos, I run my own business, and I have like a really talented team who help me put together the kind of visual elements of what I do. Yeah, I'm in control of every element of my career. Every piece of work that we put out, whether we put something online, whether we send something to one of our friends to see, we're bearing a piece of our soul in that work. And I feel that we live in a society where skills and things that somebody does really well are not really respected, I guess. We live in almost like a paper plate society. You eat and you throw it away. I feel that we need to respect our creativity more and value it a lot more. The reason I feel we should value it a lot more is because if we don't value it, no one else will. You can't expect someone else to value what contribution you put towards art if you're not going to value it. I think success is a personal journey, really. I know some very, very successful people on a monetary level. I know some people not as successful as them on a monetary level, but success can be defined, I think, in terms of what goals you have achieved. How I determine it is that once all my goals are checked off, I will determine that as to be a success. Where do I see myself in 5 years' time? Yeah, living somewhere with a with a hotter climate than the UK, definitely. Living somewhere hot, just doing more creative projects. I think I've got more risks to take. I think I've got more risks in my life to take. I think up until this point, I've kind of lightly, like, I'll give you an analogy of being a boxer. I feel like I've kind of just lightly come into the gym and done a few rounds on the punching bag. I don't think I've fully made an indent into the boxing apparatus and equipment. So I really feel like I need to take more risks. And in 5 years' time, those risks are either going to make me massively successful or they're going to make me the biggest failure in the world. I'm kind of okay with both as long as I try it, but I'm not going to fail though.